It is within human nature to be awestruck by things that are big. Grains of sand go unnoticed due to the vastness of the sea, blades of grass are ignored when they are present in beautiful rolling hills, and stars are always just foundations to their constellations. March 27, 1886. A small baby is born from a big belly. A baby so small could never create something so big, right? This baby, Ludwig Miles van der Rohe, who I will be calling Ludbig for short, is credited with creating something so big that it would eventually overshadow all of big itself. While Big Small was started by one man, it has grown into something bigger. It all started when Walter Elias Disney, a well-known entrepreneur and voice actor, began to realize the opportunities that selling less could bring. His plan was to work in secret cahoots with Mr. Ludbig in order to bring something small into popular media, and thus Mickey Mouse was created. This small creature has been engraved into popular media since then, and to maximalist dismay, will probably continue to do so. Following the success of the rat creature, many more corporations followed suit, such as Geico, Pillsbury, Mr. Peanut, Duracell Bunny, and Little Caesars. The emergence of small figureheads forced the maximalists into an attempt at retaliation, with the creation of the figureheads of their own, such as the Green Giant, Kool-Aid Man, and the Hulk, who is now owned by Big Small and has since been shrunk. There were early combatants, specifically Gustav Klimt, who directly called out Mr. Ludbig's blatant attempts for control, but unfortunately his small big paintings were no match for Ludbig's big small architecture. As Mickey and the other small frontmen continued to pull ahead of the maximalist figures, it was seemingly hopeless for their once powerful maximalists to regain control. They had to come up with a plan to somehow neutralize, or at least become evenly matched with, the exponential power of Big Small. At this point, the maximalists were still scattered and sporadic, so it was still difficult for any of them to gain notice from the general public, with the exception of the hit film Big Trouble in Little China, which was made as a direct attempt to draw attention to the many maximalist stores in Soho, south of Houston Street, which is an area of New York City known for its many art galleries. But Big Small continues to thrive in this area to this day, as they greedily sell more less for more. Eventually, small groups of maximalists came together to fight a common enemy. And thus, on May 1st, 1967, with the marriage of Elvis and Priscilla, Big Big was born. Their first attempt as a group was to slowly reintroduce Big into society with small changes. Their plan was to create a new fashion trend that involved oversized pants. This was initially reciprocated so well by many famous fashion designers that Big Small immediately caught wind. Big Small knew that if they retaliated with small pants, their efforts would go unnoticed, as it was too soon in the trend to create such a sharp alternative. Instead, they devised a devious plan to create a hybrid of the two, bell-bottoms. The immense success of bell-bottoms in the 70s, however, did not make either side satisfied at all, as neither Big or Small was present in the pants, but Big Small had squandered Big Big's hopes at gaining a leg up in this race. But Big Big had learned from their previous mistakes and came up with a much more subtle way to bring back Big. The development and implementation of hairspray into pop culture by Big Big created a wave of big bold hair in the 80s. This powerful attack on Big Small had them scrounging for something quick and easy to distribute, and small pants were shoved into the cracks of the public. These discreet yet powerful back-and-forth blows between the powers would continue until the 1990s, in an era known as the War on Fashion. This gruesome and greedy conflict was brought to a halt when an agent of peace, Christopher George Latour Wallace, commonly known as Biggie Smalls, because of his advocacy for compromise in the conflict, released Mo Money, Mo Problems and Get Money to speak to their respective sides and call out the overcharging hunger for power that both sides had fallen into during the War on Fashion. This brief moment of peace was quickly interrupted when, unintentionally, big pants became popular. Big Big tried to convince Big Small that their big pants for more were less aggressive than they used to be, but Big Small ignored their pleas and fired back hard. Big Small began to use 5G internet signals to hack into easily accessible minds with the public, forcing the idea to paint their walls and fireplaces white, along with buying furniture that is either white or a variety of neutral grays and browns. As disputes between these groups continue to rise in the current age, we as maximalists beckon you to the cause. You should care about this because we told you so. But here's the real question. Does Big Big even amount to a small big small less or more than that?
Or is it still what it used to be when Big Big is present within all people and is being pushed down by Big Small's big plan to sell more or less? Why is it a big deal to be small or big, or is it big to be big and small at the same time? Do you have a big heart with small intentions or a big big with small big littles? What are you doing to be bigger than your smaller little big self? Why are they talking about you behind my back? Aren't you concerned about this because you have to be? What's with all the big little buses and roads that largely impact small creatures in big cities? Can't you be the bigger person? What's the point of big and small if there's always a bigger small fish and a small big problem with everything? And you can't be so bigoted if you see yourself as a small in the minds of the big picture. And big pictures are the ones that sell more tickets, but what if the tickets were less? Would crowds be bigger, and would you see the movie if it was small, but they needed the money so it cost more, and you can't sit in that small chair because you grew out of it, and you have a bigger butt than when you were 4, and you're taller and smarter and can do something about your big problems because you have more of the lesser problems that are bigger now due to the fact that you can go more places in the big world, but now you have less to do that with, so you feel like you'll see less, and then your small big problems seem so big and less manageable, but then you remind yourself of the big and smalls, and it seems better but all the more hopeless to do what you want with your little big dreams, and you wake up in the morning to a big sun and a small bed because that's okay with you. You You get a little sleep when you have such little time to spare, but you're only 19. You have such a small, big, little life to go see and do a lot of big things and small things. But anyways, it's about the big, small reasoning to be big or small. But then the less things become small, and then there's suddenly more of them, and then there's less and big, and they're also huge and big. And when you see the big, small in the area, the small, big, and the less is more, and the selling less for less is an issue, and so is more for less, and more for more, and less for more, and you can't solve it, and you keep getting smaller, and the eyes are smaller, and the bigger, and you're small again. It's the only matter of time before you get bigger or smaller.